Hi. How are you doing today, my friend? Welcome back to the Two Wheels Paradise. My name is Meshak as usual, and today we have something that is quite exciting to me because it is a bike that I have owned for thousands of kilometers for a couple of years, and it is something that I used to love every bit of it when I was owning one. Today we are talking about Benelli BN 302s. Yeah, have you seen those bikes with Benelli logos? Very nice sound. Yes, now here today we have one, and we want to just have a walk around and talk about a couple of things that I love about this bike and a couple of things that I did not find so exciting, and some of the reasons why I can own it again if I get a chance. It's Benelli 302s. Let us start by talking about the make Benelli. This is an Italian bike, although for a couple of years now they have been produced in China by a company called QJ. What happened is that the Italian company Benelli, the mother company in Italy, went broke some years back. It's quite some years. Time has actually gone since this sale was done. The company went so broke and it was at the verge of being closed down at some point, and some Chinese company invested in this company. Yeah, you know how companies buy other companies to prevent them from going down? This is one of the classical examples of a buyout. Benelli was bought by QJ from China, and now this bike is being produced in China. However, if you look at this bike, you cannot see anything Chinese. To be honest, this bike is not cheap built. You look at it, this bike is premium. Look at it. Yeah, that's Benelli. Since 1911. The original Benelli company is an old company that was established in 1911. They had been producing bikes until that point when they went broke, and they have some very nice looking motorcycles. The ones that were produced in Italy were quite beautiful, but we also have these ones that are coming from China, and they are also very premium. Look at that frame. This is not a Chinese cheap frame. Yeah, it's a premium frame. The trellis frame, those tubes are properly done. I have not seen any Benelli with issues to do with the frame so far, and I owned one for over 50,000 kilometers, and I can tell you this bike is premium built. One thing I love about this bike is the side suspension. Yeah, the suspension is mounted on the side, as you can see, and this bike is quite premium. Yeah, let's do some ride and see how this one works. You can feel some little bumps as you land on a rough surface, but this is expected because this is not an adventure bike. This is a street bike. Yeah, this is a street bike that is made to help you commute from work, from home, from the villages you want. If you want to do some long distance, you can do whatever you want with this bike. It has some power, although the figures are not so good looking. If you look at the horsepower, this bike gives around 38 horsepower. Yeah, that's not a lot, but 38 is enough to get you from one place to another, and also to cruise nicely at 110 kilometers an hour. Yeah, you can do some nice highway speed with this bike, although it is not so strong. Yeah, the suspension is side mounted, and it is not a cheaply done suspension. When you ride this bike, you can actually tell this bike is not very cheap, as people would expect some Chinese bikes to look like. Yeah, we have some crappy bikes that come from China, and you get what you pay for, because when you buy something so cheap, you can expect the quality to be also somehow awful. But this one is not one of them. It is a parallel twin, and when I say parallel, I mean it is a twin cylinder, but the pistons move together. There is a difference between parallel and inline. Parallel twin is whereby the engine has two pistons which move together. If it is up, it is up. If it is down, it is down, moving at the same speed, the same angle of the crankshaft. That makes it produce some very, very nice sound. Actually, to be honest, Benelli 302s are the best sounding 300cc motorcycles out there. You can challenge me if you want, but that is the truth. We do not have any Japanese 300 with such a beautiful sound. Look at the headlight. It is LED. For me, I used to own the old version of this one. It did not have the LED headlight. Yeah, we have the full TFT dashboard, which has a lot of stuff to display. A very nice one. It is not complicated. It's a very simple dashboard, but it has a lot. Something else you need to note is this bike has ABS on both wheels. ABS is very, very necessary for a bike that has such power to get to highway speeds. Yeah, I think some countries have made it a law that you must produce bikes with ABS if you are giving them power. For instance, in India, you cannot produce or market a bike that is above 250cc if it doesn't have ABS. For us in Africa, ABS is a foreign word. Yeah, the authorities do not really understand what ABS means, and that's why sometimes we end up with very crappy bikes and things that just look like death traps. But Benelli 302 is something that you could love. Yeah, the torque is not so much. We are talking about roughly 26-27 newton meters of torque. Compared to 38 horsepower, yeah, the torque figures are quite low, so you have to level the bike quite high for you to feel the power. But all in all, it has enough power to get you into trouble. So if you're riding this bike, you have to be pretty careful. In terms of weight, this bike is a little bit heavy. We are talking about around 185 kilos of dry weight. And when you add a 16-liter fuel tank, 3 liters of oil, and 2 liters of coolant, we are talking about over 200 kgs of a bike. 300cc, 200 kilos, that's not a very good combination, you know. Yeah, it's quite heavy. So some of the problems that we get when we talk about the weight is that these bikes tend to damage the rear suspension. We have had a lot of cases of these bikes damaging the rear suspension, and it comes because of that weight. If you ride it aggressively, especially on rough surface, you could expect to get into trouble with your suspension. Yeah, this bike is good. Fuel consumption wise, you can get around 25 to 26 kilometers a liter if you know how to handle your throttle properly, if you know how to shift gears at the right range of the RPMs. 25 to 26 is not so bad for a 300cc motorcycle. One thing you will love about this bike is the comfort on the highway. This bike is very smooth. When I say smooth, I mean very, very smooth. This engine, they call the GT engine, is an engine that is quite smooth. Benellis do not really vibrate like other bikes. You can expect small bikes to have a lot of vibrations because of the number of pistons being low. This is just a twin cylinder. You cannot compare this with an inline 4 or a triple, something like an MT-09, something like GSXR Suzuki 750, which is inline 4. You cannot expect it to perform like those big bikes, but this is a bike that is going to perform in its range on a very, very presentable level. The wheels on this bike are pretty considerably done properly. You have 120 by 70 rim size 17 to the front, and you also have 160 rim size 17 at the rear. Yeah, big tires which handle the highway properly. This is a bike that you can actually use to commute daily. That is one thing you love about it. You can commute daily on this bike and you'll never have issues with comfort. Yes, they have tried to engineer this bike into something you can use for highway on long distance, going to the village and going to work every day. The exhaust sound is so nice. Yeah, you can imagine a parallel twin which is properly engineered should sound more or less like a vehicle. Yeah, someone will confuse you with a vehicle. Yeah, when I was riding mine, people used to confuse that sound with a vehicle. You go and park somewhere outside some gate, and somebody will come expecting to find someone with a vehicle, only to find, yeah, it's a bike. That sound is something nice. But when you change the exhaust from the stock to some aftermarket shenanigans, that sound goes somewhere else. It's not nice. So if you want to feel that engine sounding properly, just retain the stock exhaust. And again, it also helps you to maintain the engine properly. This is a very cheap bike to maintain. The chain is 525, size 525 with some sprockets that are locally available, not so bad. When you look at the brake pads, it's just normal service. You have two plugs. The spark plugs on this bike are the CR8 size, mostly used by sport bikes. So they are locally available and not also very expensive. It uses two because it is a twin cylinder. One funny bit about this bike is the amount of oil that you put in this engine. This is a 300cc engine but consumes 3 liters. Yeah, that one is quite funny because compared to my Honda Transalp 400, I use 2.3 liter. This one uses 3 liters, 3 full liters of oil. Yeah, that's quite funny. But again, this bike needs that oil because this engine is quite bulky. It's big in size, needs quite some amount of oil. Look at the indicators. They are very, very bright. This is a bike that, yeah, it's quite engineered. And again, you cannot replace these indicators and put them in another bike. If you remove these Benelli stock indicators and put them in another bike, just forget it. They will not work. I don't know how they made those things to work only on Benelli bikes. I have no idea. The headlight is LED. The other version is the old 300 that I used to own didn't have the LED headlight. That was a bulb, but it was also a nice illuminating bulb. Quite working properly. Benelli company, that is the Chinese QJ company, have tried so much to make this bike presentable and I love it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind owning it again because I know how much I used to enjoy this motorcycle. Yeah, it is just a basic bike. When you look at the maintenance, it's just nothing funny. You just have to put some coins down and buy the correct spark plugs, correct oil, correct everything, and you're going to have a lot of fun riding this bike. Mine used to take me to the forests, to jungles, to the desert. I went all the way to the coast, to the beaches of Mombasa, Malindi, a lot of places, and it never broke down. So I can confidently say that this is a good bike you can buy if you find it being sold somewhere, as long as it is mechanically sound, because unfortunately we do not have new ones in Kenya right now. The company that brought these bikes, the Captain Motorcycles at Kahawa Wendani, no longer brings these bikes to this country. I have no idea why, but they brought a lot of these Benellis. They are just here in the hands of people. Some of them ran into the wrong hands, they broke down, others were mishandled, others were just broken into pieces. And it is unfortunate that we do not have new ones. But again, if you find a clean one like the one I'm riding right now, if you find it being sold, you can just spend your money on it. It's not very expensive. You can get it at somewhere slightly below 400,000 and you're going to have a lot of fun. I have seen people riding them to 100,000 kilometers, so I know this engine is a good one. Thank you so much, and remember to subscribe to the channel. Here we do everything motorcycle. I love you guys, and I just wish you all the best. take care of yourself as you ride these bikes. Take care of yourself. See you around.